Hello and welcome to
Dragons,
Unicorns,
and Other Creative Creatures,
where we support, promote, and celebrate the arts. And when we say arts, we talk about, what do we talk about when we say arts?
Oh my God, what don't we talk about? I mean, we've already talked to painters and upcycle artists and
Photographers,
writers, filmmakers,
musicians. We've had a band playing on our show.
So it's been pretty wide ranging, far reaching.
So if you know somebody who is in the arts that would like to come on our show, please let us know. You can email us at...
Okay, let me see if I can get our Gmail account right.
She created it. I made her do it.
Man, it's my fault. It's DC, DU, which stands for Dragons, Unicorns, the word and then OC2 for Other Creative Creatures. So DU and OC2 at gmail.com.
And that will hopefully, because we have the most fabulous staff or supporters here at the Hudson Community Public Access Channel. Yeah. So
whatever it says.
Yeah, pay attention to what it says. Yeah.
Pay no attention to the woman behind the unicorn.
Okay, so you're, Max, your son, who we've had on the show, that's been all involved in all sorts of stuff with the Web of Light Foundation and helping out and doing all sorts of things.
And editing our show here. Yes, he's on a 4-week hiatus.
Yes. What is he doing?
He is at summer camp. He's at the Peacock Players summer camp for the next 4 weeks. It's a day camp in Nashua. The Peacock Players are also located in Nashua, so they'll be doing 2 showcases, one each Saturday. And then they're also in production for a performance of Heathers at the end of August, I believe. So they are quite busy, and hopefully we'll have a few of their people on to perform and talk and cavort.
You went to theater camp, right?
I did.
So did I.
My theater camp is still up and running quite actively.
Mine is out of business.
Which one was yours?
I went to a theater camp up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, because that's the area I'm from, and I could not tell you anymore. I went there when I was about Max's age. I think I was maybe 13, 14, and I only went for one summer, but I loved it. They kept on trying to, get me out of my shell, how I do shy so well. But yeah, it's where I found out that one of my better stage gifts is improv. I killed improv, and in fact, I ended up doing improv. I did improv while I was a teenager. Performed several times on stage with a partner. We'd do improv. We'd just walk out, and our 2 characters would start going at it, and the audience would have no idea where it came from. We'd have to make sure we communicated everything. One of my favorites was I was playing a Jewish mother to my acting partner, dance partner. Her and I were also dance partners. We used to do professional dance, which was this very large, voluptuous Italian girl, and I was her Jewish mother in the improv that we would be most asked to do again. We'd let the audience throw out what the theme was. And we would just stay in character.
That's fun.
Yeah. So it was definitely a lot of fun.
Well, mine was in the Catskills, and it's staged around Manor, which is very well known. They've done movies on it and books on it, and not this past year, for several years, they were the first float in the Macy's Day Parade. They started it off with that incredible "Don't Stop Smiling Even If the Set's Falling Down" musical theater smile. It's really incredible. Once you learn it, you can't unlearn it or unsee it. You kind of recognize, oh, I know that smile. That's the one that says, keep that toe pointed even if you fall into the orchestra pit.
Yeah.
But that was a great summer. I gained an incredible amount of experience, and I know my abilities just soared from those 8 weeks. It was the summer before I was in 8th grade, so I was almost 13. And but then I saw the people whose talent was already incredible, and I saw theirs get even better, and I'm like, yeah, they're the ones going to Broadway. So yeah, Stage Door actually has some wonderful alumni: Natalie Portman, John Cryer, Zach Bramp. I was there with Mary Stuart Masterson.
You were there with Mary Stuart
I
Masterson?
was. Mary Stu and I were in Babes in Arms together.
Oh, do you ever stay in touch with her?
No, although I did see her Broadway debut, as the Four of Clubs in Alice in Wonderland.
You should reach out to her. I'd love to have her on the show. Come on, pull some strings. You spent a summer in the Catskills.
God, doesn't everybody? Nobody puts baby in a corner.
So
Somewhere in the Catskills.
we're going to move on to our guests.
Good.
So a lot of you have heard of the Nashua Symphony. You've heard of the Granite State Symphony. And you've heard of the New Hampshire Symphony.
But what you haven't heard of, what you might not have heard of.
New Hampshire is alive with the arts and with music of all kinds, as well as numerous theater companies and all. I mean, I go to some states, and I've lived all over, and they barely have anything going on. I mean,
Sure they do. They've got college football.
Yeah, but they, New Hampshire really supports the arts as a state. But what you may not be familiar with, or you may think that some marketing person got dyslexia, is with Symphony New Hampshire.
That's right.
And we have from Symphony New Hampshire who's going to explain how, the arts don't always run smoothly.
Do they ever run smoothly?
And
That's why we're so superstitious as a group.
And that why it's so important to support the arts and the casualties that happen when you don't. We have with us Bridget and Audrey. Bridget, your official title is?
Director of Development.
So she develops. What do you develop with that? What gets developed? I want to know. Do you develop
No.
Do we hear your musical
No.
pieces?
No.
Do you develop something
No.
they play?
Not so much. It's really a synonym for fundraising.
Oh, okay.
That's the easiest way to explain it, although it encompasses a lot more than that.
Okay. So when we talk about supporting the arts, and you go, I want to support the arts, and maybe I'll only go once a year to see a holiday concert, or I'll just do something. She's your girl to talk to. And Audrey, what's your
Official title.
official title?
I'm the Director of Audience Engagement.
Okay, so you go and pass the basket on the break in between the first part.
No, she gets us all clapping at the beginning. She engages us. No.
Well, I make sure that people know about our concerts. So if you're thinking, what do I want to do this Saturday? Maybe I'll go see Holiday Pops. Maybe I'll go see Dvorak performed live. Maybe I'll go see Beethoven's Ninth. So that's
you're
my
the one
job.
to make sure that the audience knows and gets excited and
Exactly.
enthused.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great. Those two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
They really do.
So I throw out a lot of names because I was brought up. Actually, I was brought up first of all in Kittery, but hung out in Portsmouth, and then spent the last part of my wayward youth in Manchester, and have lived all over New Hampshire as well as the rest of the country. And you threw out names and told me things before we went on air that I didn't know about, and I've only been back to New Hampshire for about 18 months now. So tell us a little bit about Symphony New Hampshire, how it evolved, and what people should be looking for.
Well, the big thing with all the different names that we threw out there, you might have heard of the Nashua Symphony, which is still us. We just changed our name in 2012. So after 2008, the recession, and a lot of nonprofits struggled, especially in the arts. And so there were some other orchestras that were in business in New Hampshire that went out of business. And the Nashua Symphony at the time was still thriving and doing well and supporting the community. And so the organization decided to change its name to Symphony New Hampshire because we wanted to expand our impact to more of the state. So while Nashua is still really our home and where we're from, we're almost 100 years old. We've been around since 1923.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
impressive.
Any originally playing members still?
We do have some that have been playing with us for a very long time, but no original members. But we wanted to expand what we were doing into more of the community, and that meant getting across New Hampshire a little more. So the name change really reflected that.
So what used to be known as the New Hampshire Symphony is no longer.
Right, so it's a little confusing.
So people get confused.
There
yeah.
was a New Hampshire Symphony, and they went out of business.
And they were out of Manchester.
Manchester.
And then the Granite
Granite State Symphony
Symphony
Orchestra. Yes, they were in Concord, and they also went out of business.
And it's funny because people don't think of symphonies necessarily as being a business. They forget
Right.
that
Well, most don't
without
know.
support, without
Yeah.
fundraising, without those lovely little pledge weeks that interrupt your time on public television and public radio, they will go out. They will disappear.
And, you know, there was an article in the New York Times sometime around this time last year maybe where they said orchestras are running as charities. We said, well, yeah. Is that news?
I think they've been doing that since Mozart's time.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of people don't realize that orchestras are nonprofits. All orchestras are nonprofits.
Otherwise,
and
you'd
we are-
be the Citibank Symphony
Exactly.
New Hampshire. Or
Exactly, yeah. And so we can't survive on ticket sales alone, which, you know, there's, if you think of like a big theater in Boston that does Broadway musicals, that kind of thing, that's not necessarily a nonprofit. And they survive on ticket sales and, you know, specifically investors, that kind of thing. But we rely a lot on our very generous donors and grants.
So, when these other, and again, and one of the whole reasons I opened your introduction the way I did is because I want people to stop and think and say, you know, at some point I might want to go to the symphony, or I might want my child to go to the symphony and look around and go, what happened to all the symphonies?
where's the symphony guy?
You know, how did that happen? And how it happens is because people get busy and they don't pay attention, and their lives get really busy, and they stop doing things to feed their soul. And definitely one of the things that a really well done symphony does is feed your soul.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get that message out, Audrey? Because your job is to say, oh, yoo-hoo, soul over there,
Come see us.
bring your checkbook. To
I
buy
should
a
try
ticket.
that sometime.
That's going to be our next advertising campaign.
Bring your soul to Symphony New Hampshire.
Yes.
Well, I think one of the main things I like to tell people is that this isn't what you think a symphony would be like. You know, you don't have to drive an hour down to Boston. You don't have to pay half of your ticket price to find a place to park. You can, right here in Nashua, you can go drive 10 minutes to Keefe Center for the Arts, which, if no one knows where that is it's actually attached to Elm Street Middle School. And it is the largest performing hall in New Hampshire. Holds 1,400, has a fantastic
Wait,
stage.
the Keefe Performing Arts Center is the largest performing arts center in New Hampshire is attached to a middle school.
Yes.
That's correct.
Formerly
didn't
a
see that
junior high.
No, I didn't see that coming either.
Yeah.
But it's a
Former
wonderful
junior
hall. You walk in and you could be anywhere. It's a beautiful space.
So I have not ever been there. But
No, road trip. Well, not much.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Short
About 10
road
minutes
trip.
from here.
a walk trip.
Walk trip.
Sidewalk trip. There we go. And I've been living in Nashua less than a year. I relocated back to this area, but have never lived in Nashua. So when you say right next to the Elm Street Middle School, you've told me nothing.
So it's pretty close to downtown.
Okay.
It's about a quarter mile from City Hall, maybe closer.
Wow.
Okay.
So that's nice. So there'll be places to eat dinner beforehand or
Exactly.
Okay,
go
so
for drinks afterhand.
we have City Hall, that horrible place I went to get my license switched over to New Hampshire. Do you know
Write a
they would
play
not?
about
Do you
that.
know they would not take my Arizona state license as a form of ID, even though it was current? They were like, "Oh no, that doesn't count as a form of ID to get your New Hampshire license." I'm thinking,
Wow. Did you show them your name and your underwear? That
I
doesn't
didn't.
count as a form of ID?
no, it doesn't. But anyways, so we have City Hall, and when I go down a little bit, I know that I hit the Labyrinth, and over here I hit like a mall with some kind of Goodwill store or something in it, I think, and I have a Burger King. Where is it there? I mean, like, tell me, is it closer to, is it like behind City Hall?
It's where that mall area that you were talking about, it's off the opposite way, like a block in the opposite direction to the west.
Okay,
Yeah. So it's off of Main Street, just about a block.
so it's off Main Street, about a block.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Main
starting to
and
get the
Lake.
picture.
Yeah.
Near a lake.
Lake Street.
Oh,
Sorry.
Lake Street.
Not
There's
a lake.
lake in the middle of
Lake Street. Yeah.
That's
There's
lot
a
of
river
lakes.
in the middle. A river runs through.
Oh, no,
It's a
don't.
little far from the river, but
Okay,
it's
good.
still walkable.
Yeah. Well, and part of it is, I think that there are people, because when I first came back to Nashua, came to Nashua, and again had never lived here in all my years in and out of New Hampshire. I lived in Portsmouth, Manchester, Hanover, but never Nashua. That was the mystery community. There is a lot walkable in downtown Manchester. I mean, downtown Nashua. There is an incredible, really rich culture. And you guys contribute to that by having these things going on. Now, what's the name of the center again? I'm sorry.
It's Keefe Center for the Arts.
Keefe Center for the
K,
Arts.
I assume? Yes? K?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Making sure. No assumptions actually around here.
Well, yeah. And I have a philosophy of if my 5-year-old can't understand it, I'm going to make you repeat it. Because there are going to be people that watch this show and they're going to go, oh, I could go to Margarita's or Peddler's Daughter, or I could go to Surf, and I could walk to the Symphony after that. Because I've walked from the Unitarian Universalist Church down past the Labyrinth. It's not that bad a walk on a night, and I mean I've never found the streets of Nashua unsafe really.
Yeah.
Walking down around that area, so people could actually really make an evening to it. Do you do a lot of afternoon performances? Do you do Sunday afternoon performances?
We don't have any in Nashua for this season. We do have one in Concord, our Holiday Pops concert. We're doing that on a Sunday. But our Nashua Holiday Pops concert, we're actually moving to 7:30 because we realize a lot of families like to come, and an 8 p.m. start time is just a little bit late for some of the younger ones. So we like to make sure that everyone can attend.
So it's going to be 7:30 on a Saturday night, but that's Holiday Pops.
Yes.
Right. Usually they're at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
This will be a little early.
It'd be a little early.
You'd be surprised how much half an hour makes a difference.
Oh, yes. I believe
With
it.
kiddos, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one less martini at the bar before you go. So
Yeah, about one less martini.
So you do shows in Nashua. Now, when you were the Nashua Symphony, did you do shows in Concord and Manchester as well?
No.
But you do them
so
now.
now you've...
So talk to us a little bit, because this makes your audience engagement job even a little more spread
Even
out.
more fun.
Roller skate worthy.
Well, it's great to learn the different communities, even between Nashua and Hudson, or Nashua and Merrimack, and then Nashua and Concord. Every community is a little bit different, and they expect different things from their orchestra. Especially with Concord, that's where the Granite State Symphony used to be their home. So there's a large audience who is looking for that orchestra because unfortunately didn't make it. So
There's
that's
a hole
why.
in their soul in Concord.
Right, so that's why we can go up there. We perform at the Concord City Auditorium, which if you've never been there is a really neat space. It's a little bit smaller than Keefe, but it just has sort of an old city charm to it, and it's a great hall to play in. So we play up there. We're working on more in Manchester. When our full orchestra isn't performing, we have smaller groups of musicians, whether it's a string quartet or some brass musicians playing together. We do a lot of things like that. We've even performed in Peterborough, we've performed in Lebanon, so we like to go all over.
Now, is that always with the full orchestra? Because you mentioned when we were talking most about chamber, which is generally smaller. So do you perform with different sizes, or?
It's a combination.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, so this season in Nashua, we're going to have 6 full orchestra concerts. But in between those, for instance, we'll be performing at the Nashua Public Library. That's going to be a free concert at the end of September, and we'll have other performances. We performed at Riverwalk Cafe in downtown Nashua. So things like that, where between our full orchestra concerts, you can still hear our musicians playing.
Flash mob.
I've seen orchestral flash mobs. They're cool. Not easy on the cellists, but it's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So now you're doing how many shows in Concord this year?
3 concerts in Concord.
Of the
Three?
full orchestra.
Yes.
The full orchestra, and then some minor pieces. Now you said something that Concord had a hole in its soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's because state government's there. That had nothing to do with the
Well, because their symphony's gone. So you said it fills your soul, and now they have a hole in it.
Sorry.
Yeah, state government. There's always that.
Yeah. Anyways.
Fun piece of.
So now you have a surprising relationship that you didn't realize
Relationship, maybe we're stating it, but connection, yeah. Bridget emailed us, and we have some audio clips that we're going to work into this, hopefully, because they are quite beautiful, and mentioned that your current conductor is Jonathan McPhee, who has a very long career in the New England area, including the Boston Ballet and several other areas. But I happen to know that years ago, I won't give away either one of our ages, he conducted at a music camp in Wareham, Massachusetts. And he was my conductor there for 3 summers.
3 summers?
Mm-hmm. My first summer camp was a Northeast music camp.
So I don't know if I dare ask this. How old were you when you went to summer camp? Because you're not going to tell us how old you are now.
Summer before I was 10, 11, and 12. It was the 3 summers before I went to Stage Door Manor.
Ah.
So very serious music camp.
So Jonathan was your first artistic director in 1923 then? Because if he was, I mean,
That's right. Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, it's funny to think back because he was a grown-up to me then. And so, I mean, yes, he's older than I am, but I'm older now than he was then, I'm sure. So it's sort of an odd thing to realize. But hopefully we'll have Jonathan on because I grew up in New Jersey going to New York Theater and New York symphonies. And all of the conductors that I had ever heard about or knew were string players. And Jonathan is not. He is a double reed player, which I thought was unusual for a conductor. It always stuck in my head.
Yeah.
They always seem to be string players. I don't know why. I always come from the strings, usually violins.
So talk about some of your upcoming performances.
Okay, well, our season starts on October 7th in Nashua. We're performing in collaboration with the University of New Hampshire Celebrity Series. We're performing Amy Beach's symphony along with Dvorak's New World Symphony. So you've probably heard of Dvorak's New World Symphony.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But Amy Beach was actually born in Henniker, New Hampshire in around 1850. She is known all over the world as the first American performer, the first American composer to really be of substance, who really created the American voice. And we're performing her Gaelic Symphony, which is based off of Irish folk tunes, the sort of, United Kingdom, Scottish, Irish area. Because that's where her heritage was from, as an immigrant to the United States. So she kind of started that, the sound of American music, and that ties in really well to Dvorak's New World Symphony, because the New World being America.
That's us, huh?
So it's really cool to listen to the 2 perspectives of what American music should be. And Dvorak's symphony was written about 2 years before Amy Beach's. I think she started composing hers a couple months after she heard his, because she wanted to crack at it too. So
good for her. There's so few. I mean, that's
Right.
still a place where there's a huge glass ceiling for women.
Right, and I think when you think the first American composer, the first American performer, and then to say her name was Amy Beach, I think that's really great that she grew up an hour north of here. So we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that really is. I've not ever heard of her, and I can't say. I mean, I'm not I'm far from an aficionado by the long shot, but so now are they going to be played? So they're both going to be played at the same time, or
on the same program. So we're actually opening with Beethoven's Coriolan Overture, because next season we're featuring Beethoven. It's going to be all about Beethoven. So we had to throw in a little Beethoven just to tie it all in.
Wet that whistle.
in a little Beethoven.
Right.
Yes.
And then we'll be performing Amy Beach's Symphony and then Dvorak's Ninth Symphony. And
It's a nice full.
it's going to be a great program.
Yeah.
And you might think, oh, I don't know about American composers, I don't know about female composers, but you'll love this symphony. It sounds like Mendelssohn, it sounds like Beethoven, it sounds like Dvorak, it sounds like all of those wonderful composers you love to listen to. And actually, University of New Hampshire has a great collection of a lot of her manuscripts. So the original music that she wrote in her, in her handwriting, they have those. They have a piano that she practiced on when she was touring. They have a really cool collection. So that's why they wanted to do this. I think it's the 150th anniversary of her birth, I believe.
Someone tell Google we need a doodle for her.
Oh yeah. So and that's going to be October 16th. You said
October
7th.
7th.
Mm-hmm. Her birthday is about a half month before then, but that's when we're able to start our season. So we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go to that one. I'm definitely gonna have to go to that one. I love. Well, I just love the fact, first of all, that to the idea that it's local and that it's female and that because again, there was so much overshadowing. I'm sure there was a whole lot more women composers that we never saw their work that got buried, or somebody
Oh, yeah.
will find someday in a box still, 100 years later, when they open up Great Aunt Matilda's letters, and then boom, there's this whole symphony sitting there, and no one ever knew, because it's not easy today for a woman to.
Right.
No, I still can't name women conductors. Very few women composers. Even soloists are incredibly outnumbered by men. So.
Yeah, I have I've lost touch with her. She was a friend of mine for a while, one of those, you pass and kind of lose touch. Terry Williams, who was a female conductor, and she was doing female conducting. I met her in '95, and she was doing female conducting, but I lost track of wherever she went or whatever. But, I remember hearing her stories of, it was not an easy fight, and she would, oftentimes, feel like she was almost immediately eliminated, like that a woman couldn't hold the orchestra.
Yeah.
But she proved him wrong. She held him quite well.
Now, both of you play as well, but you've chosen arts management. And remind me again, you play.
I'm a recovering oboist, as I like to say.
Recovering
Yes,
oboist,
I don't play too much anymore, but that is
Craziness
my
of the
training.
double readers. People making their own.
Yeah,
reads.
making your own reads. That's what scared me away. Imagine, if you're a trumpet player, you blow into a little mouthpiece. Imagine having to make that every day.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
Yeah, I gave that up.
and I remember that. They're always they've always got them in their mouths too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
You
perpetual
have to keep
pacifier.
Yeah, you have to keep it moist and ready to go. So it's too much work.
Too much work. Interesting.
I mean, but it's nice. You've taken your love for it in one way and now translate it into making
Exactly.
sure others get to hear those instruments and things like that.
Just doing it from behind the scenes now.
When was the last time you picked up an oboe?
Oh,
That long ago.
It's been 2 years. No, two
Oh,
full
only
years.
2 years.
Not that long. Yeah. So I haven't played since college. Yeah. So I miss it a lot, but this is still kind of fulfilling that void in my soul without, but I do want to start playing again. There's lots of volunteer orchestras between New Hampshire and Massachusetts. I'd love to start playing again.
What do you play?
I play the viola,
Ooh, nice.
which for anyone who doesn't know is the bigger violin,
The bigger
but
violin,
still
right.
sits on your shoulder.
It's a little bit bigger,
So-
a little bit further back.
Yeah. So when you attend our orchestra concerts, you'll see the violins and the cellos, and the violas are kind of in the middle. So those are the
And
violas.
if you're sitting really far away, you can't really tell the difference
You can tell
between
the
the violins and the violas.
You just have to look.
Depends on the size of the player.
Well, I mean, come on. Viola is just a hippier violin.
We are of a different mindset.
They are. But it's funny. I had when I worked for. I was saying to Bridget, I've also done fundraising, and I did fundraising for several years for the New England Conservatory. And the head of our alumni, one of the people in our alumni relations department was a graduate, and still took lessons. And she had this whole list of how do you date the orchestra, because the the timpanists are incredibly OCD. I mean, the only thing that you want to make a timpanist crazy, just touch the drum and they will go off and have to retune for 2 hours. And she had this whole list of things, and her thing, she was a French hornist, and she was saying French hornists are absent-minded. And her teacher, who happened to be with the BSO, kept saying these were terrible generalizations and it wasn't true. And he's like, fine, let's just finally get to our lesson. So she takes out her French horn. She's like, aren't you going to play with me? And he didn't say anything. And she's like, what? He goes, I left my mouthpiece at Symphony Hall. So there was the absent-mindedness. Sure enough, French hornists are absent. But she had something for the other, because the violists they are different personality-wise from violinists, from cellists, and clarinets, from double readers. And even within the double readers, there was this whole list. And it was frighteningly accurate. She was going to create a book called How to Date the Orchestra, but she never did, unfortunately.
I would think that the violas might be a bit more robust, where the violinists might be a bit more.
I can't remember. It was more than just. It wasn't necessarily what you would think. As I said, an absent-minded and the French hornists, you wouldn't necessarily think would go together. But
So what is the difference between a violist and a violinist?
Well, I think violins obviously get a lot more of the melody, whereas violas, we do sometimes, but not most of the time,
You're sort of
even
the
compared to
altos
the
of
cellos. Right, we're in the middle, and that's where I always liked to be. I thought it was the most fun. I wouldn't want to be sitting right on the edge of the stage playing all the melodies all the time. That's not my idea of a good time. So I think that might be one of the
Orchestras
differences.
would be boring with just a melody.
It's
They
true.
would, they
have
they
to
have
have
no,
the whole picture.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep. That's why I say a little bit more robust, a little bit more perky. So, well, it's funny because as you had the relationship with Jonathan, I know I'm a long-standing friend of their harpist, who's also on their board. Not board, but on some committee I know.
The
she's
musicians committee.
on. Musicians committee.
Oh, nice.
Katie Lyon Pingree, because she's playing at my wedding.
Yeah.
She's playing harp at my wedding. But I watched, as you were talking about the whole keeping the reed thing, she went through this series, like she would have a string break on that harp like every day. It was like she went through a period of, and then of course everything has to be retuned and everything has to be, it's just like, yeah, I'll never make it as a musician.
Restrung and high strung.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, no. What's the most, so how many performances do you normally put on a year, full orchestra?
6.
In one place, so that's just in Nashua.
Yes.
We'll repeat that program in Concord as well, in 3 times.
Okay.
Like depending on the program, we'll do it in more than one place.
So you're going to do 9 full orchestrated symphonies in the 2017-2018 performance season.
Yes.
And then one more if you count our performance at University of New Hampshire.
So yeah, 10.
10.
10. There you
There you
go.
go.
That's why I keep her around. She knows all the details.
So you're going to have 10 of those. And then how many would you say smaller chamber or more intimate, smaller group performances do you do through the year?
We usually do a few a month. Most of these are open to the public. We do have a great relationship with a lot of the area retirement communities, so we'll have musicians go and perform there because a lot of our audience members aren't able to make it to the concert hall all the time. So we like to make sure that the music's still there for them. So we'll go, I'd say about 2 or 3 a month, depending. Like I said, we're going to be at the Nashua Public Library on, I forget which day in September. I believe it's the 24th. But we'll be performing there, and we have lots of these little events lined up.
We just had our brass players perform at Holman Stadium in Nashua for the 4th of July celebration.
Oh, nice.
Well, we're sitting right down the road from that. July 4th is my birthday.
Okay.
So I heard you guys playing.
Great.
But it varies. Sometimes our musicians play weddings and they, do lots of different things outside of the concert hall. And last season we did a series of free concerts at the Hunt Memorial Building in Nashua, which is up on Main Street past the library and all that kind of stuff near, I think, Railroad Square, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
And like Audrey said, retirement homes, and we're hoping to start doing more of those concerts in Manchester and Concord as well as we kind of expand outside of the main orchestra concerts into the community a little bit more.
So 2 questions I have for you. One is, so I'm hearing a lot of community services being done, which is good, on stuff like that. Now, your musicians, they're all professional, they're all paid, correct?
Yes, correct.
So that money has to come from somewhere. I want to make our listening audience
Aware.
connect the dots that if you have a loved one or somebody that you care about that may be in a retirement home and you go see them and they go, oh, this very nice young men and women came in and they played and they were from some kind of symphony. And I think it was New Hampshire. Whatever. And it makes you feel good that your parents or grandparents or maybe a treasured elder friend got that, or some school child got access to it that wouldn't normally do it. These are the guys that are helping to make that happen, and people have to get paid to do that because everybody needs to buy groceries and pay rent and do all of those things. So it's very important to understand it's not just the symphony at Keefe
Center for the Arts.
Keefe Center for the Arts, that you're supporting not only with a ticket buy, but that you're also supporting all of this work they're doing in the communities. And that's very important. You want to stop and think about that for a second, because if you think about it, somebody you know and love has been touched by these people.
Yep.
True statement?
Very
Yes,
true.
I agree.
Yeah. So we want to keep that in perspective. You're spreading out. Now, so my second thing is you're right next to, you perform right next. Now, is that where you also do your practices and stuff like that at the
Yes, we
Rehearsal.
rehearse, yes.
rehearsals?
Mhm.
Yeah, I knew there was a word in there somewhere.
Sounds like.
Do you ever get the middle school involved?
Yes.
Talk about that.
So we have
That's called a setup.
we have an education. Our education program called Picture This has been running for a few years now and has become kind of our main effort in the schools. And so we specifically have targeted it to third graders. So we've reached all the third graders in Nashua for the past few years. And we perform it at Keefe, so they get the full orchestra experience. But it's two parts. So it starts with a woodwind quintet, so oboe, flute, clarinet, bassoon, and French horn. They go into each elementary school and they play Peter and the Wolf and a couple of other things that do two things. One, show how music can tell a story, but also go through kind of the science of how air makes a vibration on the instrument, and that's what creates the sound, that's what creates the music. So it ties in what they're learning in the classroom, and it ties in what they're learning with their music teacher, and gets them excited about what classical music really is.
And the best part of this program is it's entirely free to the schools, thanks to the work that Bridget does. Bridget is the one who raises money to make sure that the schools don't pay for this. That's great.
And then the second part is when they all come to the concert hall, where Jonathan McPhee leads them through, talks them through the program, which is a combination of two things. It's a little bit of movie music and music they recognize, and there's a slideshow above them that is giving them a visual to aid them in really thinking and imagining about what the music means to them. And then we do a little Beethoven, a little Mendelssohn, to bring in that the music that they love and that they recognize is very similar to something that they might not know, but they like it just as much. So we like to get them excited about what an orchestra is. And this is really a long-term project because this is audience building for years to come, for the whole orchestra industry. Because we have to get kids excited when they're young and realize that, the reason we do it in third grade is because in Nashua in fourth grade, they choose if they want to join the band.
I was going to ask if you can choose an instrument in fourth grade. I know in Massachusetts it's similar.
And that's why we bring the woodwind quintet, because Nashua has a band program, not an orchestra program.
Right.
So we could bring a string group, but we bring the woodwind so that they get an even more in-depth, this is what this instrument is like, this is what it sounds like, this is the character in Peter and the Wolf, like the oboe is the duck, I think, right?
I think so, yeah.
And the bassoon is the old grandpa.
His grandpa,
yeah. So it gives them an idea of what the different instruments are and what connects with them the most. And so our goal is that then in fourth grade, they'll be inspired to join the band program and make music, whether that means they sing or they play piano on their own time or they actually join the band program on a wind instrument.
That's great.
Now, my other question was, if a current local composer created something, could they submit it to Symphony New Hampshire?
We do get that. Occasionally people will send something and we'll have Jonathan listen to it. He likes to see what people are up to. But our programming is, that's all done by the music director, and he has a very good science behind what goes well together. We have to be careful not to program the same things.
You just mentioned Beethoven, and you've managed to connect him to
Amy Beach
and Dvorak for that one piece.
Right. And so we will occasionally do premieres of orchestral works. We did the New Hampshire premiere of a piece by a composer that
Theophanides.
Okay, thank you. I was going to say I can't really pronounce it very well, but
What
say
is
it again.
His name is Christopher Theophanides.
Theophanides.
Yes.
Yeah, that one doesn't quite trip off the tongue.
It trips.
Yes, that's true.
So we do try to get a good variety of music in there of living composers when we can in our season.
That's always exciting. I love my first opera was Samuel Barber, and he was there. So it was kind of cool to have him there to take a bow at the end of the opera.
Yeah.
Now is Chris, see, I'm just playing it safe.
Yeah, that's smart.
Is Chris local to the area, or is he just a live?
It was a project that was through New Music USA, which is a separate organization of trying to get a piece premiered in each state. And so we were a part of that project, which was exciting.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you have this or you ever considered it, but do you have, or would you ever consider having a high school level come play with the symphony or rehearse with the symphony for serious musicians out of the area?
We actually used to have a program that we're trying to get up and running again in Manchester, where we did a side-by-side concert. So it was with the Manchester Community Music School, and it would bring our orchestra with their youth orchestra, which was, a little bit more advanced than your
traditional right,
yeah,
high school
so,
band. Yeah.
And so they would come together for a concert. It was usually a
sounds
Halloween
amazing.
concert, and as my job goes, we have to find the means to make that happen.
Yeah.
But we'd love to do that kind of thing, because there's nothing quite like putting a professional with someone who's passionate about music and seeing them work together like that. We also do programs that bring the professionals in to do what we call master classes, which are like small, like if you're a trumpet player, you work with just the rest of the trumpet section out of a band and that kind of thing.
That's great. That kind of master
And those are the
class
things that we'd love to be doing more of, that wouldn't be possible without our donors. And so we do like to work with the students in the area as much as we can, even if it's just getting them to come to the concert hall. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Well, what inspired you as a kid?
My grandmother is a musician. She taught music for many years, was a cellist and a singer, and she has 8 kids, and none of them play anything. My uncle plays guitar, that's it. And she really pushed hard for me to learn music because she could sense that it was something it clicked for me. So she's really what started it. And then when I picked up oboe in 6th grade, I knew that I was going to be doing it for the rest of my life, whether it was behind the scenes or on the stage. So.
And how about you, Audrey?
I started playing the viola with my public school string program. I knew I wanted to pick an instrument, and marching band didn't really sound like fun. So that's why I picked the viola.
You get to be indoors.
Exactly.
An indoor player.
If there was one instrument that you could pick up with a wand wave, what would it be on top of what you already do?
Probably the piano.
Piano?
Piano's fun.
I would say violin. Audrey's going to be teaching me violin soon.
Not viola, huh? Violin.
It's such a different
teaches
process
both, actually,
because
yeah.
you're not with a string instrument, and I've played piano, but I've played clarinet. You are at the mercy of your lungs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd love to try something that is
You're not
a wind instrument. Yes. And so Audrey's a violin and a viola teacher, so she's going to be my violin teacher soon. Exactly.
So we are running out of time. We're going to, we didn't quite get the audio clips into play in time for the show with the holiday weekend that was midweek. So we apologize for that. But we're going to ask our very competent staff to play some of the pieces as part of our close, and maybe
Yes,
even
please.
something in the morning, in the
Intro.
intro in the morning. So
Close enough for jazz.
you don't start till October, but we've got 30 seconds. What can they see between now and then? What's going on? There's going to be something. You guys are going to be doing something, some small little.
We have some musicians at the public library, National Public Library, I think next month in August for part of their box lunch series.
Oh, fun.
Little things like that pop up all the time, so the best way to keep up up to date with what we're doing is to go on our website and join our email list.
And your website is?
SymphonyNH.org.
SymphonyNH, pretty easy. NH.org. We want to thank you both for coming.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
And we're going to see if you can twist Jonathan's arm to come a little bit
Do our
later and
best.
talk to us. So, another Dragons and Unicorns come and gone. If you love the arts, if you have people that are touched by the arts, maybe it's time for you to touch the arts back, whether it's in a seat or with your credit card. Namaste.